You're welcome to what is one of the core events of a very busy Community Relations Week. The aim of the Community Relations Council is to lead and support change towards a peaceful, inclusive, prosperous, stable and fair society founded on the achievement of reconciliation, equality, cooperation, respect, mutual trust and good relations.
Our first speaker this morning is Mark McGill, and he is a senior economist at Oxford Economics, responsible for managing a range of consultancy projects.
A history of a conflict has left us with some communities here extremely heavily reliant on public services. To bring in foreign companies, we need a country that's safe. Safety is one of the key location metrics foreign companies will look at for a shared society to work. Everybody has a role to play in helping us get through the next few years.
Ben Collins, an expert in political communication and public affairs. He's the director of the RICS.
The focus of my presentation is going to be on the economic case for sharing in terms of regeneration and sustainability. We can't afford this continual division. The budget shortfall that we're going to have over the next 4 years, or the cut, is £4 billion. We have 4 years, £1 billion a year being wasted on division. I'm not an economist, but it seems pretty clear to me what the answer is. The Northern Ireland Executive have said they see creative industries as a key driver for economic growth in Northern Ireland. Clearly, we can't achieve our full potential unless we do that by adopting a fully shared future.
In front of you on the table, you've seen something that looks like a retro mobile phone. It is a piece of technology which will allow all of you to take part in today's conference.
And a few people are also here, but just to
There's just a yes or no answer for you. Do you think there should be a change in legislation to enable shared housing? The question: most young people are unsure of their role in the peace process, and many feel that they don't have a voice. And what are the key issues for children and young people in this process?
And the whole idea about demonising our young people, I mean, that's really important. We really need to see society moving away from that. If we're serious about it, we're going to have to put some money into it. And that brings me back to the early intervention approach as well. That's how we can achieve that early intervention approach, is to get into communities and actually build tools for communities to actually talk to their young people and bring that information back into the planning of services.
Do you think a target date should be set for the removal of interface barriers? That's a controversial one, isn't it?
Interface issues are purely a manifestation of everything that is wrong with our society.
I want to approach this with humility, because I don't live beside one of these peace walls. But the police officers who are under my command police the symptoms of the peace walls. And what strikes me is how normalised they have all become.
I work in community relations, and I've heard the no argument for 15 years. I think there is an issue of confidence. We have to create the confidence, but we have to set some date. If it doesn't become part of a government policy to take them down with a set time and with resources, it just comes aspirational. We need to work towards those things.
Vast majority of you think that there needs to be a change in legislation to enable shared housing in Northern Ireland.
My view is we need to start with what we mean by shared housing. If we say to politicians, You have 4 years to get this right. Make it absolutely a priority. Invest the resources in terms of people and time and money that we need. Then it's not just about a change of legislation. It's about telling planners you must prioritise shared housing when you're looking at planning applications. Telling housing associations we will incentivise grant for you, public investment for you, if you make shared housing your priority. Telling the housing executive it's not actually about changing the legislation. We could do that, but you need to change how you allocate housing, and you need to change how you support people through that process.
Having a close look at those promises and taking an overview which he's going to present to us now. So a warm welcome please for Robin Wilson.
What I'm going to say is just a little bit, first of all, about the context of the election, and then how I approached the election manifestos of the parties, what they said, some issues that raises in terms of economic policy, since that's the theme of today's conference. The 2008 programme for government had prioritised the economy, but through a process of reviews and consultations, no economic policy was actually produced before the end of the Assembly term. A shared future was shelved in 2007. There were then protracted negotiations on a successor policy, and the Cohesion Sharing and Integration document emerged in 2010 and was widely criticised for fatalistically accepting the division in our society. I think that it's unlikely in that context that we're going to see either an effective strategy for intercultural dialogue to replace a shared future, or a more workable power sharing system in the next term. So I think those are challenges that will remain for the next Assembly election in 4 years' time. And I think in the meantime it will be helpful for CRC to sponsor a debate on these issues.
Really, they weren't very impressed, our audience, in what the executive did in the last 4 years.
At this moment in time, in terms of a shared future and the economy of a shared future, two things. First of all, we recognise in Northern Ireland that we have a very good educational system which is producing results for some people. And the First Minister, Peter Robinson, as DUP leader, has indicated his strong support for looking at an education system which is all-embracing and involving all sections of our community.
In the main, people are actually upbeat. People do believe that they have a good sense of leadership that has been shown. Take some of the real toughest examples, such as the recent killings of either British Army personnel or attacks on the police and killings of police, and the collective leadership that was shown there.
The message that I've been getting in the local community, and the message that seems to be coming forward today, is that the politicians need to catch up. I think that for a certain period of time, the community was willing to grace politicians at the Assembly, with the Assembly in and of itself being enough. I think people are moving on. There is a tipping point there, and I think we as representatives would do well to catch up with that and realise that is the case.
If anything symbolised that we've probably moved away from pure peace process politics, I think the visit last week by the Queen to the Republic, you know, that to me we're moving away from that. We need to get on and build on that. I think everybody's in agreement that we would like to share public services better.
I think the next executive's job needs to be to put reconciliation and the construction of a strong, equal, shared society at the heart of everything it does. The real question, which is what are we going to do to place reconciliation and the tackling of division at the heart of government, and how often are we all as people going to remind politicians that that is their first and foremost duty if we are serious about making the peace a stable and prosperous peace for us all.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce Jonathan Bell, MLA, Junior Minister, the Department of First Minister and Deputy First Minister.
You'll be aware it's my first week as a Junior Minister, and it gives me great pleasure to be able to add my voice of support to the important and ongoing work that you are conducting in this area. I can reaffirm that the Office of the First Minister and Deputy First Minister is absolutely committed to building a shared, better and brighter future for all in Northern Ireland.
Community Relations Award for Exceptional Achievement, which the Council issues every year as a mark of recognition. It's with great pleasure that the Community Relations Council announces, therefore, that there's not one winner of this year's award, there are two winners. It's a joint award. It goes to Michael Atchison and Rob McCallum.
We've been working together for a long time, and while we may have differences about what that future might be like, we've agreed that it's a future that should be based on dialogue and engagement and not on things that pass. So that's where our vision is. It's not guaranteed yet, but at least we'll do it through dialogue.
And that's why it's important not to be working towards a vision for a shared future, but to be working towards a shared vision for the future.
One of the most interesting things that was said to me in the last week, I'll give you two to finish. One was in the last week up with NBIN, where talking about interfaces, everybody said when asked, they said, would you take the walls down? They all said no, too early. They said, do you want them still to be up for your kids? They all said no. We have to bridge that gap.
One other thanks to. That isn't the last time we hear Duncan Morrow, I'm sure of that. But it is the last time we'll hear of him at the Community Relations Policy Conference, because Duncan leaves the Community Relations Council at the end of this year. So I want to be the first person to get our thanks in to Duncan. It'll be coming in many times over the coming months, but thank you very much, Duncan. Thank you all.